Looking for a personal injury attorney? Look no further than Columbia, Louisiana. W. Mark McKee specializes in personal injury cases. He is located at 7134 Highway 165 in Columbia, Louisiana. Tell Mark you heard it right here on the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. You may also contact Mark at 318-649-2622. That number again, 318-649-2622. Contact him today.
Hello, this is Baron Glass, host of the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on the all-new #1 global radio station, WMAD. Before I do my live broadcasting, I always dine in at the all-new Main Street Seafood Restaurant located in downtown Columbia, Louisiana, owned and operated by Miss Brett. Check them out. I did.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We are honored to have you as a guest tonight and want to thank each of you for your faithful support. Without further delay, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Baron Glass. Mr. Glass, take it away.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, Monday night's episode, August the 22nd, 2016, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, before we get off into the broadcast tonight, I've asked Pastor Riggins to come on, and we're going to offer some kind words, some words of encouragement to those who may fall under the category of sick and shut in, those who may have experienced death in the family, or those who just need prayer in general. Tonight we will be joined once again by Mr. Aaron Hopkins, hailing from Dallas, Texas, Miss Nikki Bedrick from Las Vegas, Nevada, hopefully Miss Paula Stafford from Missouri, and Miss Vanessa Gazi from Houston, Texas. I don't want to give it away, but Miss Debbie Dilks, I believe's daughter, grandmother passed away last night, and we're going to offer some words of encouragement for her as well. We have some of our loyal listeners who have individuals that are now in the hospital who need some words of encouragement. So Pastor Riggins is going to be so kind to come on at some point during the broadcast. And regardless as to where we are in the broadcast, we're going to actually stop and allow him to come in and do a word of encouragement to all of those who are in need of prayer. Tonight's title is Terrorism Initiatives. the flooding responses, infrastructure, long-term care, bringing back jobs to America with education and public and private sector partnership. We know that the world has drastically changed in 2016. The question is, what can the private sector do? Or even more importantly, what can the public sector do? And how can they both coexist to make America a better place? If you're out there listening on the 773-897-6398, which is the live call-in number, you can also go out if you have something to do and you still want to be able to listen in. You can call in, well, you can dial in. Rather, when I say dial in, you can get on your computer, you can get on your iPad or whatever smartphone you have. You can go to www.thesmokingglasshour.com and you can listen live to the broadcast. You can also share the broadcast. You can also email the broadcast. You can text message the broadcast, and you can do a lot of other things. Because what we want to do is make sure that we have people that become involved in the process. Now, before I go any further, let me do a little diligence. If you are looking for a good, great personal attorney, personal injury attorney, why don't you check out W. Mark McKee, who is a personal attorney located in the heart of Columbia, Louisiana, who is one of the best personal injury attorneys that are out there. If you have a wreck and you need some professional legal advice, check out W. Mark McKee, located just south of the Columbia Bridge in Columbia, Louisiana, just in the heart, as I said. And check out Mark, and he'll be sure to do you a good job. Also, check out, if you notice, that from the outset of the program, check out Mitch Bratton. He is the owner and operator of Main Street Seafood, which is located directly in the town of Columbia. But let me go a step further. Mitch is offering something else new on the menu, and I hope I don't make you hungry when I mention what the new item on the menu is. But here it is. It's going to be called a Superdome burger, which we know the Superdome hails in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is south of here. But here's what's going to be on the Superdome burger. Now check it out. 22 ounces of beef, 4 slices of cheese, 8 strips of bacon, lettuce, tomato, mustard, and mayo on a sourdough bun. Now, if you don't like something like that, then you're really not part of the great Louisiana cuisine that we offer. Tonight, once again, we're going to be joined by Nikki Bedrick, Paula Stafford, Debbie Dilks. Hopefully, Deb is out there experiencing family crisis. Paula, Vanessa Gaza, and Aaron Hopkins. Nikki Bedrick from Las Vegas, Nevada. How you doing?
I'm fine, Baron. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Vanessa Gaza, how are you doing?
I'm doing better, and you?
I'm fine. Paula Stafford, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. The woman that just died is my boyfriend's mother, and I have known her for the last 40 years, and she was a wonderful, wonderful woman.
Well,
so we're going to miss her a lot.
As I stated, Paula, Pastor Riggins will come on, and he will offer some words of encouragement to those who need it. And I know you'll be joining us for the duration of the program, and we'll get directly into it. I know Aaron is going to call in a little bit later. He just messaged me. He's running just a little bit late, but nevertheless, let's talk about this. We have Donald Trump, and we have Hillary Clinton. And Nikki, you know I really, and I may as well go ahead and do it. You know I really want to dive in and talk about the most recent development with Trump, insinuating that pretty much all African Americans are uneducated. Vanessa, I know you want to chime in on it. So before we get off into all of this other stuff, because see, if we're talking about bringing jobs back to America with education, I think first of all, we need to educate some people on history, what real history is about, what true history is about. And we also need to educate people about racism and racist and all of those other types of negative attributes that are now floating around since Donald has become the mouthpiece for racism and the support of racism. Paula, Vanessa, and Nikki, let's start. Donald Trump and his outlandish, outrageous comments regarding African Americans. Nikki, tell me how you feel about that.
I just think it's abominable. I mean, I just think it's abominable. He is, we've talked about the man having no filter. We've talked about, but it is racism at its worst. I mean, he is not even dog whistling. I mean, I'm disgusted. I am heartsick. I'm really not surprised that he says it. On one of the shows, the man says what he thinks. This is what he thinks. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. But what really constantly just disgusts me is he's never taken to task. There is not a voice. There's not a national voice against him. There's not his own party. There's no Democrat. Nobody calls out this man. He's given free reign. He's given free reign on the airways. He's just. I think the whole thing is a national disgrace that he's allowed to continue. I think it's a disgrace. It's a terrible disgrace.
Okay, Vanessa, let me jump to you, and I know that you probably are going to be vocal. And I wrote a Facebook post, asking. Nobody really responded, which I knew it, wasn't going to happen. But I asked the question. I'm wondering if all of my friends who support Donald Trump feels the same way about me based on his comment and based on their support for the Donald. And when I say Donald Trump, I want to be very specific. I mention him with a lowercase d and a lowercase t because he's one guy that I absolutely do not respect because of the way he carries himself, because of the way he actually allows his heart to be shown. Vanessa, talk to me about your feeling regarding the Donald.
Well, I'm pretty much side by side with you and other people and Nikki about how we feel about Donald Trump. But I guess it's not so much Donald Trump as it is the people that follow him.
Correct.
Because he can, somebody can get up there and say something and, everybody can just hate their guts and that person can go off into the sunset. But this man can stand up there and say whatever he likes, any tone that he likes. And these people there's no, I don't know, I don't understand them. I mean, I can't, other than the part that he's bringing out this really, really, really deeply rooted racism. He's bringing it out of some people. And when you ask about your friends, do they feel the same way about you? They might. And the reason I say that is because a lot of white people, and I don't know every white person in the world, but the ones that say that I'm not a racist, they'll say, well, I got black friends, I work with black people. But it's called racial microaggression. Mm-hmm. It is not that you're a racist, it's just that you say racist things and you're not aware that you're saying racist things. Mm-hmm. Because it was a big blow up about Ellen DeGeneres when she did the memes with Uvain.
Correct.
He was on his back and he was running, and they said, I guess Black Twitter had blown up, saying that they felt like she was being racist. Well, I mean, Ellen helps everybody. I've seen her help all kind of people, black, white, it didn't make no difference. She was just being Ellen. But sometimes people, they don't really understand what they're doing appears to be racist, because when you put a white woman on a black man's back, it kind of like throws signals to people. And they may be catching it the wrong way and coming up with the wrong, answer. But it's just that it almost is like she should have known that.
Right.
She should have been aware that, well, if I do this, then, it's going to look like, it's going to look bad. But they don't think of it that way. She just thinks that she's Ellen and she's funny. And she felt like she was doing something funny. And that's how racial microaggressions work. People just don't realize that they're doing it. But Donald Trump does it, and these people that follow him, they don't care. Because he even said himself, I can, get out and shoot somebody on Front Street, and they'll still vote for me. And he's right. They will.
Right.
And that's how it's just like Nikki said. It's really, it's a disaster.
Right.
That's all it is. It's bringing out a lot of stuff that we should be aware of. Now, that's a good thing, because it is bringing out a lot of stuff. So when you ask that question about your friends, if that brings that out of your friends, then you know they were never your friends.
Exactly. And Vanessa, you're exactly right in what you're saying, and the comparison that you're making.
May I say something in regard to what Vanessa said with Ellen and
Yeah. I was going to go to Paul. I was going to go to Paula first, but go ahead on, Nikki.
Just a thing. It doesn't make it excusable, Vanessa, and I think that's part of the problem. I think Ellen should be aware, or people should be aware, because it's continuing that micro-racial aggression. It's continuing the stereotypical, continuing the white lack of care, continuing the white ignorance, continuing when a white is called on it, their feelings are hurt, continuing white fragility, and I think all of that has to be broken down.
Yeah.
And understood and not allowed.
Yeah.
All I wanted to.
I guess, Nikki, Vanessa, I look at it a little different. I know in my heart that Ellen had no malice or no intent. And I myself have done some things that had no intent, but if it comes across the wrong way, then, you just come back and apologize. So, I think it takes conscious-minded people like us to really say that, okay, we know that this was not the case. Let's not be so sensitive to this particular issue. And by no way and by no stretch of the imagination am I diminishing what you guys are saying. I'm just looking at it from a different standpoint. Again, if it's wrong, it's wrong. And I think we all will agree with that. Paula, let me ask you about the Donald and his latest episode, which appears to be almost on a daily basis. But this one right here, Vanessa, Paula, and Nick, has me very troubled, because here's the deal, Vanessa. If Vanessa Gaza, who is a friend of mine, came out and made a statement like that toward a general race of people, white, for instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to denounce exactly what you said, because why? If you hurt my friends, you hurt me. And that was the reason, Vanessa, why I asked that question. I want to know if you feel the same way this guy feels, because if you do, you feel that way about me. Paula, talk to me.
Was the remark that he made that black people are uneducated?
Correct.
Well, I think that uneducated people tend to be racist. I think that the more open you are, the more educated you make yourself, whether it's through school or reading or just, however you do it. It seems to me that the people that go to Donald's rallies and are hateful and bigoted and racist, those people don't look like they're really the top of the block to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, Vanessa, my thing is, he asked the question, what do you have to lose? And I would like to tell him we lose everything if we support him. So, again, without getting off into the depth of it, what I'm trying to figure out is just like racism. It does not diminish if those who are in power who disbelieve in that go up against that. Silence to me is no longer an option. It's no longer an excuse. So again, Nikki, just hearing him say that, being a Caucasian, an Anglo-Saxon, or whatever title you choose to put before that, how does that make you feel being put in that situation of being the same as he is, but feeling totally opposite? Because I'm almost certain in your line of work, you've seen educated people from all aspects. Are you saying that the President of the United States, who is a Harvard Law graduate, who is a constitutional lawyer, are you talking about Thurgood Marshall? Are you talking about Dr. Cornel West, Dr. Michael Eric? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Talk to me, Nikki.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I disown him. I don't want to belong to the same race as he is. I mean, I totally disown him. And I think my feeling is pretty much yours, Baron. I don't have tolerance. I don't have patience. I don't have understanding. I don't have. If someone is supporting Trump, and you'll hear, but he, I don't want to hear the but. The man has the man is divisive. I think we're at such a critical, raw place. With the killings on the streets, with the brutality with Milwaukee, with Baltimore. I mean, we're at such a critical place. It's a matter of life and death, and I disown. I don't identify with him in any way. And if someone is in my circle and did, I mean, you go your way, I'll go mine.
So,
and I won't even debate this.
Right. So Nikki, let's at least try to touch one of these subjects tonight, because I know we all are long-winded, and when I say long-winded, I mean that in a good sense. We all have a lot of opinions, and we'll stay stuck. But let's try to jump on this one. If we look at bringing jobs back to America with education, with the public and private sector partnership, how can we do that when we have, let's say, a Trump presidency that has said all of these negative things, and I'm almost certain other people, companies, or whatever the case may be, just like they pull out of North Carolina, the All-Star game, or whatever the case may be, one of those games, and they're going to New Orleans or somewhere around the country. Let's look. So if we're talking about education, it would appear to me that education would be more on the negative side than the positive side if we're going to live a lie and not come back and tell the truth and really denounce some of this nonsense that Trump is talking. Well, what do you think about that, Paul? I'll start with you.
Well, I think everything starts with education. I mean, from the time you're born until the time you die.
So how do you educate Mr. Trump?
Well, I think it's too late for him. I really do. I don't think that Donald Trump cares about Americans. I don't think he cares about. I don't even think he wants the job. I think he wants to win. I think he doesn't want to be the loser, but because that's not in his DNA. But I really think that he just wants to win. I don't think he wants to actually do the work.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me stop you right there, then, Paula. Vanessa, do you think this? And I'm gonna say this: self-acclaimed billionaire, self-acclaimed one percenter. Do you think this guy is running and not wanting to win? And if that's the case, then let's look at this aspect of education, because it would appear to me that the teacher has to be educated to teach the students. The lawyer has to be educated to go to the courtroom. The doctor has to be educated to doctor on the patient. It would seem to me that a president would have to have some type of education regarding the public sector versus the private sector. What do you think?
Well, you have to look at the people that he's actually talking to and the people that he's relating to. They're just like him. And I think he's getting in over his head, really. But it's pumping him up. And he's feeling good about it because he actually believes that most of America are just like the people that support him.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's not educated and your people aren't that educated, this is who he's interfacing with. He doesn't care about everybody else. He thinks that this is all that he needs to get by, and he'll get through. He'll pay his way through if he has to, because somebody even brought that up in the beginning, that he said if he became president, that he would just pay people for advice. He doesn't have to know anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at the qualifications to be a president, there's nothing in there about you being educated. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, but Vanessa,
So,
I mean, it would take a person with no common sense to realize that even at the lowest level of politics, you have to have some sense of direction. In other words, in order to be able to go from A to B and not go in a straight line, you have to have some sense of direction to do that. And what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is that if America has talked about all of these perfect attributes, perfect union, and united we stand, divided we fall, liberty and justice for all of that stuff, it would appear to me that why after 200 years of presidents, 44 to be exact, and then all of a sudden you come up with this guy who is an embarrassment to many people, more than the majority. He's an embarrassment. I'm just not understanding that philosophy. It'll be like me saying that I'm going to come back and support the devil because slavery existed, and now this guy wants all the whites to be under. I wouldn't go for that. Maybe somebody can help me understand. Go ahead, Vanessa.
I understand what you're saying, but he's a businessman. He's done business from day one. That's what he's known for.
Mm-hmm.
His father was a businessman. His father was a racist. This is all Donald Trump knows. So now he's up in the public eye even more than he's ever been in his entire life. And he feels that he's a success. He says it all the time, that he's successful. But I think last week they're saying that, Donald Trump is changing. He's turning into somebody that's going to listen to people.
Mm-hmm.
And then he made the comment that he's not going to change anything about the way he's done things because he said, look how far I've gotten.
Right.
He said, when I speak the truth, this is when the people really come to me. So he's not thinking about being educated. That's not even entering his mind because he feels like he doesn't need that. And so when he's talking about, telling black people that, you guys are uneducated, you ain't got no jobs, and, this, and this, he's losing ground as far as the points with Hillary Clinton. So now he's coming into the black community. Now all of a sudden you want the black vote. But at the same time, you came in and insulted black people. At the very same time, because this is how he is. This is what he knows. He doesn't know anything different. He feels like he's giving us sympathy.
Well, Vanessa.
Empathy, like he's actually.
Well, while you're on that point, are the majority of black folk that uneducated to where they believe that the skunk has got a mask over his body, but the skunk is still not black and white? Or, because I asked the question the other day on Facebook, why would you give a skunk another chance that have already sprayed you?
Well, the one thing they say about black people, and I hear it all the time, and it's really a complaint from other black people, that we are the most forgivingest folks on the planet. That, a white supremacist person can kick us and talk about us, and as soon as they declare that they're not a racist anymore, then we out there showing our hand, putting our hand out. Just like the guys on I forgot the singer Common.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that why don't we stop all this hate and why don't we extend our hand? he almost got his hand cut off by a lot of black people. Because our question is, why do we have to be the ones to put our hand out to the oppressor?
Mm-hmm.
They're not changing anything. They're not. If you look at this country, this country is so, there is no equality in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Been that way for a million years or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But no politician has ever stood on that platform and said that from now on this country is going to be equal. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of police brutality. We're going to get rid of the Supreme Court. We're going to get rid of all these corrupt politicians. We're going to just clean house. You never heard that. Not once. And Hillary Clinton is the only candidate so far that has actually used those two words together, systemic racism. None of the rest of them have ever said it before.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, nothing is going to change. They're going to tell you what you want to hear. And that's the problem with a lot of politicians. That's why Trump is so high the way he is now, because he's saying things that people want to hear that are unconventional.
So
not saying the same old thing.
Right. So Nikki and
that don't make it right.
Right. So Nikki and Paula, when you hear educated African Americans, black or whatever, people such as Barron, Aaron Hopkins, Pastor Riggins, Vanessa Gazi, Brandon Johnson, Corey Jackson. I mean, just an enormous amount of people. How does that make you feel, knowing that you now have to defend something that is totally outrageous, and you know for a fact that that is not the truth? Does it put you in an awkward position? Because what I'm talking about now, I'll tie this in. Education is a must, and with education comes understanding. With education comes exposure. With education comes stepping outside the box. With education comes a lot of things. I'll start with you, Nick, and then I'll go to Paula.
I think we're putting this emphasis on education here. I know a lot of educated racists. I think probably our Congress. Those guys are educated. Those Republicans sitting in Congress. So I don't know that this idea of educate, certainly knowledge, compassion, empathy, stepping inside of someone's shoes. You can get the simplest, most uneducated person in the world who's not racist. But to come back to Trump and what's happened. Trump is the star of his own reality show, and I'm listening to Vanessa and struggling to try to explain. I'm listening to you, Baron, and really, reason does not apply to this guy. You can't take reasonable rules of conduct and say how and this, and it doesn't apply. He is the star of his own reality show, and what he's absolutely basking in is the adulation of the supporters. And I was called the supporters uneducated to get to this education in America and whatnot. The educational, there's two educational systems in America. There's two systems. There's the one in the suburbs, and then there's the one in the rural and the urban areas. Okay, there's two. All right, one is doing okay, one is crumbling and failing all the kids. If we say that Trump's supporters are uneducated, they fall into that second category. All of the dichotomies here just don't add up with Trump. I mean, to hear Trump call the African American uneducated is like it's so deeply insulting, so completely such an indignity, and only a Trump could say that and then say, vote for me, I'm your last hope. What do you got to lose anyway? The normal rules of conduct do not apply to this man. And the supporters, and I'm going to say it, and I think Paula would agree with me, we call them uneducated because they are white supremacists interested in continuing the white supremacist culture that dominates this country, that is this country, every institution. And that's who Trump is, whether they be educated or not, that's who Trump is appealing to. Mm-hmm. Muslims need to go, Mexicans need to go, blacks need to go, or at least back to the plantation. This is what this man is saying, and there's a great segment of America believes that.
Well,
and that's what he's appealing to. And they don't think, like, will this man come in and help our schools? They don't think that way.
Well, Nick,
his word is he's going to fix everything. How?
Right, Nick. And while you're talking,
sure.
I just got a Facebook message that says if a person does not want to vote for neither party, what options do they have? So, my response back was not an option. Not voting is not an option. But when you look at it, here's how I look at it. For those who say they're voting for lesser of the two evils, that's not 100% accurate because there are more than two people that's running. So you have that option. Now, if it came down to a head-to-head Trump or Hillary, then you can take that position and say, okay, I don't want to vote for neither, but at the end of the day, is not voting an option? And to me, I'm not sure that is, but in a situation like this, I'm not sure that either person would make the benefit. I had another comment earlier that basically said, given Trump's past remarks throughout this race, is he not insinuating the blacks are uneducated, ignorant, non-intelligent? He is a sick man, in my opinion. That's another message that I just got over. So when you look at this education, I see Larry Bell just chimed in from Montgomery, Louisiana. Thanks for chiming in, Larry Bell. When you look at this education, when you look at this public sector, when you look at this private sector, okay, if you have the majority of those who Nikki alluded to earlier that controls the majority of things that go on, then I'm trying to still allow this clarity. How does education play a role when some feel like education is actually controlled by these same people that we're talking about, Department of Education, when you look at other entities that are closer associated? What do you think about that, Paula?
I think that we had started to come a long way, and then I'm thinking that the media has pretty much elected or promoted Donald Trump so much that it brought out the old feeling that people used to have. I thought we were coming along, and it turns out we're not. But I think that there are schools that are privileged and white and private, and it's not like a real public school system. In Kansas City, schools have shut down because of lack of funding. Mm-hmm. The inability of the school board.
So Paul,
manage things.
Paula, let me throw this in at you while you're talking. Let's say that you were a Fortune 500 company, and knowing that Trump has these ideals, these goals, these negative attributes, he said all these other things. As a CEO of that company, being white, would you want to deal with Mr. Trump? Because I understand that there are many businessmen and many CEOs that really do not like this guy at all. So would you want to deal with him?
I would walk away.
Well, and if that be the case, then when we look at this jobs and these jobs and infrastructure within the country, how does all of this, and see, what I'm trying to paint, the picture I'm trying to paint, is the fact that regardless as to who we get, Trump or Hillary, because of the flawedness that they have, because of a lot of people from one side or the other feel like these are the worst two candidates that we've had in recent and most modern history. How does this thing go from negative to positive when there are so many negatives?
Well, I don't know if you've noticed or not, Darren, on Facebook, I have pretty much denounced both parties. I think that they are both terribly flawed, and I am very, very impressed with Jill Stein. I think that she is level-headed. I think that she's open-minded. I think she's very well educated. I think she has empathy towards people of all kinds. I like her so well that I'm not going to vote as the lesser of two evils. I'm going to vote for the greater good. Mm-hmm. Now, some people would say that's a throwaway vote, but I have started 2 petitions today, mm-hmm. one through MoveOn and one through change.org, to get the underdogs onto the national debate stage. Mm-hmm. Because the one thing I know, she would slay Donald Trump. I mean, she would just slay him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Paula, I wrote earlier today, and I'm going to come back to you. Trump's track record is only for him, with him, to better him, to support his actions and everything that would benefit Trump. Now, if you talk about what you just said, well, let me back up. There's a message that was just sent. I have a question. Has any of the candidates talked about their position on the union? Paula, you may know. Nikki, Nikki, Vanessa, you may know. So just for to make sure that we get our participants engaged, anybody want to jump in on that question?
I haven't heard anybody talk about the unions.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Stein is in favor of unions.
Who is it now?
Jill Stein.
Okay. Now, I would venture to say that Hillary Clinton, being the leader of the Democratic Party, she would be, and I'm assuming just based on some of the attributes of the Democratic Party, I would assume that she would be in favor, or she would be pro-union. But I think if we can get somebody, I wish Deb was out there right now to actually go and fact check that. If not, I'll do it. But I'm almost certain she will, because that's one of the philosophies of the Democratic Party. But again, when we talk about infrastructure, when we talk about long-term care, when we talk about bringing jobs back to America with education, again, if you have a do-nothing Congress, if it stays that way, and Hillary is elected, what are the chances? Okay, if the Congress changes, to majority Democrats and Trump wins, I don't see any of this going up at all. I see it being relatively, the same. What do you think, Vanessa?
Yeah, I'll see it all being the same too. If Trump gets in, I can't even imagine what kind of president he would be, because when somebody doesn't have he has no agendas, no platform, no nothing. So I don't know what he wants or what he wants to do, because now they say he's changing his mind about building the wall. I mean, every day is something different.
Yeah, well,
I don't know who it is he's trying, who his campaign manager is, or his whatever this guy is. I don't know.
Well, I just
hope he don't win.
I just got a message that Hillary is for the union, and thanks for that information that's being provided. I know that Aaron Hopkins just joined us, and I'll bring him in. I'll let him catch up on what we're talking about. Right now, we're just trying to get some clarity regarding, what's going on. We're looking at about 8:14 p.m. Central Standard Time. You're listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, joined by Miss Paula Stafford, Miss Nikki Bedrick, and Vanessa Gaza, now joined by Mr. Aaron Hopkins. We know that a lot of things must change. And again, because both of these candidates are pretty much flawed. I'll tell you what, let me do this a little different. Since we're looking at about, 8:15, Aaron, are you ready to come in right now? Because I know you've been out listening. You've been doing some other thing, but I want to give you an opportunity before I open up the lines. Are you ready to come in, Aaron? Or you want me to kind of hesitate a little?
No, I've actually been able to hear, Baron. I've been listening.
Okay. So Hodge, tell me this. Trump made the statement that African Americans are pretty much, and I'm assuming he meant all uneducated. Now, you and I know that's just coded language for some other thing. But as an African American who is highly intelligent, very articulate, can say just as much, if not more, than Donald and convey a message to more than just one sector of the population. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel knowing that you just sent your son off to one of the most prestigious HBCUs in the country with one of the best law schools, even over LSU and some of these other laws? How does that make you feel, Aaron?
You know, I'm going to be honest with you, Baron. To me, it's rather comical for a couple of reasons. The main reason why I found it very... I'm not going to say I was offended, and I'm going to say it, I wasn't offended for this reason.
Me either.
One, I haven't allowed Donald Trump, since he's been on his platform, to... let me put it this way. I don't like to lend my intellect or my thought power to ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
And most of what Donald Trump is saying, I see it as a way to stir up a pot. And I don't even think he knows a lot of time what he's putting his hands into, nor does he know what the actual result will be.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times it kind of reminds me when we used to watch Charlie Brown and the Charlie Brown Gang, and they'd be singing,
okay,
and some of the kids in the background would actually be, their mouths were moving, but they weren't really singing.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it, of what Donald Trump says, I see it as, aimless. It's I like what Nikki said about it. This guy is basically just massaging his own ego, and at a certain point, you have to say to yourself, how much time am I going to lend to this guy? To keep, I'm not saying he's throwing us off track. Some of the stuff has to be actually responded to and or spoken about. But a lot of what Donald Trump says, man, and based on his actions, they don't even match up. So here's a guy who is not a successful businessman. I think too many times we hear that he's successful in business. I've yet to see it. I'm still waiting for somebody to show me that this guy is actually a successful businessman. Yeah, he's in business, but successful, and I tend to disagree with that. So my point in saying all that, Baron, is that I try my best to only acknowledge things that make sense.
Mm-hmm.
and most of what this man is and what's coming out of his mouth is like Vanessa said. You don't know what to think sometimes about what this guy says. It's just ridiculous. So, but to answer your question on this level, as far as education and black people and people who we know historically have not only shown prowess in education, but you mentioned the SBCU that my son is attending, which is Southern University. And I read something today that was which I've known this for quite some time, but it's very gut-wrenching for me to know that several of the most successful HBCUs are on the brink of actually having their doors closed.
Correct. That's correct.
And so when I think about it that way, Baron, I really have to question, not are we educated? Are we putting the education that we have to use that's most beneficial for us
as a people and as a community. Which, and I've been trying to get people to understand. A lot of times when if I'm talking in reference to the black community, solving many of the issues in the black community will lead to many of the issues in the country being solved as well. Because in mathematics, my favorite mathematician used to teach me, if you solve the most difficult part of the problem, everything else is not going to even give you any stress.
Right.
But when you avoid the most difficult part of it, then you've coasted along, because now you're getting used to ease, and that's what to me that's what is wrong with a lot of the way we tackle issues. We want the quickest, we want the easiest way, we want the least stressful answers to many of these questions, and a lot of times that's not going to really give us the best solution.
Right, Aaron. Perfect timing. I got a message that was sent. Aaron is so right. Trump is so ignorant that he will create a civil war within this country because of the chaos and division he is so good at stirring up. Just my opinion. We've also been joined by the special guest of the hour, Pastor A.F. Riggins, Dr. Riggins, senior pastor, founder of Real Life Church out of Houston, Texas. Aaron, I asked Pastor Riggins to come in and offer some words of encouragement. I said I was going to stop the broadcast right then and there. I'm going to do that. We have some sick and shut in. We have all of these people that are still dealing with the difficulties of flooding, all of the psychological aspects of that. Dr. Riggins, how you doing tonight?
How you doing, Darren? Glad to be on.
I know school has started back. I know that you're now back in the classroom. Not only in the classroom, you're doing your live broadcast over at Blog Talk USA, along with working on some other things, considering Mr. Trump saying that you are not educated, which one of the brightest cats, one of my classmates that I've ever come across. But rather than delve on that, Riggins, on that negative spirit, you came here to do a job, and I'm going to let you do that job.
Yes, sir. I will. I won't be negative, but I will try to add. I like what Mr. Aaron Hopkins was saying, and so I want to, if I can add to it.
Sure, go ahead.
Before I pray. Trump is in a desperate mode right now, and so there's three things he's doing. Number one, he's trying to disqualify Hillary Clinton by saying you need a special prosecutor. You have people like Giuliani saying that, go on the website to find out how sick she is. They say that she has an EpiPen, she has a diaspora, like that's what you use if you have a seizure and put in somebody's blood. They said all kind of crazy stuff like that, trying to disqualify her. That's one thing he's doing. Second thing he's doing is he's hollering about the African-American vote, knowing that he won't get the vote, but he want to make himself palpable or easier for the suburban Anglo women to vote for him, because he now using words like our African-American friends, our Hispanic friends. And that's because his new campaign manager, the lady, Kellyanne or whatever her name is putting those words in his mouth as to think that she can get those women on her side the way she's doing, supporting them, Republican women. Third thing he's trying to do is that if all else fails, he's going to build Trump media, just like it's Fox News. You see, got Roger Ailes over there, got Breitbart. He won't go away if he loses the election. He's going to now try to be bigger than Glenn Beck, bigger than Rush Limbaugh and all that stuff. So he's doing a three-point triangulation is what he's doing right now, because it's all about Trump. It's always been about this. It's not about America. It's not about the country. It's not about the Republicans. It's not about the Democrats. It's all about Trump. And that's what he's doing. So that's why he's doing, like you say, crazy stuff, asinine stuff to us. Stuff don't make sense, but he's trying to find whatever way he can come out of this thing the best way he can. Is what he's trying to do. And he would be president, but he wasn't going to do the work. Remember his son went over there, his son told the guy, listen, he told John Casey, said, listen, we'll let you do all the work, just be the vice president. He'll let Pence do all the work. He'll just have the title and do all the state dinners and do all the photo ops and do all the news press. He'll let Pence do all the work. He won't be president if he's in office. He won't actually be doing the work. Second thing of it is, if he don't get the presidency, he wants to be able to at least, have Trump, Trump be bigger than ever, bigger than the president and all that kind of stuff is what he's trying to do. And so that's how I look at it. Like Aaron says, at a certain point, some days I just back off for weeks, because like wasting your time with it. But then some stuff just gets right up under when it's blatant. Things like we're all poor. He sounded like he was coming out the movie Friday. I don't know job, I don't have no money, nothing to do. and that's what he was doing. He just took that whole concept like, y'all don't have any jobs, y'all don't have any money, y'all undereducated, y'all sorry, y'all stupid. Well, what the hell you got to lose? Come vote for me. Mm-hmm. That stupid stuff they're doing. Yeah, yes, sir. Well, I'm going to switch gears, and we know that there's been a lot of trials and tribulations in Louisiana. One of my cousins had water up to the eaves of our house. One of my first cousins in Baton Rouge. She had flood insurance, but she lost everything. My brother pastored a church in Baton Rouge, and a lot of his members were affected by the flood. I posted last night on Facebook, Vicki Yoy sung at Alton Sterling's funeral, and she's a gospel singer. And she sung, "I'm at peace now. The storm has passed, has moved away. The storm is over. I'm at peace now." And it's almost like prophetic. She was singing that in Baton Rouge weeks before what happened in Baton Rouge. And I believe nothing happens by accident. I don't believe in coincidence or accident. I believe God is, no matter whatever goes on in our life, whether it's bad, good, negative, or positive. Romans 8:28 says, and we know that all things, the operative word being all things work together for good. For those who love God, who are the called according to his purpose. Even this whole stuff phenomenon, I believe, is exposing the raw racism of America that we thought was fading away. Some people try to act like it's fading away. It was hidden. It's uncovered all of it. So that's working together for our good. So they can be, and you only can start something whenever you can diagnose the problem. When you can see the sore, see the cancer, and then we can eradicate the cancer. So, I believe all things work together. Even the flood in Louisiana is negative. It's things going bad. But in all things, if the believer, it works together for your good. So we're going to pray for the flood victims. We're going to pray for those that are sick and sharing during the flood. We're going to pray for Miss Glass, your mother. We're going to pray for Miss Lorraine and a couple other people. Someone lost a grandmother last night. We're going to pray for these folks because I still believe in the power of prayer. That if the Bible says, if my people are called by my name, would humble themselves and pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then when I hear from heaven, I forgive their sins, and I will heal their land. The Bible says that when 2 or 3 are gathered together in his name, Jesus says, in my name, whatever you ask the Father, it shall be done. It says that we should pray, believing that if we pray, we shall receive. And so, if we're going to pray tonight, Barry. I like the fact that you're not a preacher. You don't call yourself religious. You're not trying to run a church, not trying to run a ministry per se or officially, but you still believe in the power of prayer. You still believe in having faith in everything that you do, whether it's business, whether it's politics, whatever you're doing, that you put God first. That's what matters the most in our lives. Mm-hmm. Father, and we love you. We glorify your name. You're on the word. I thank you for my friend Baron Glass and for Ben Hopkins and Nikki and Vanessa and that's on this line right now, Father. We thank them, Father, because you caused them to come together, Father, for this such a time as this. And we will address the issues of our country, address the issues, Father, of our people, concerns and the ills of what's going on in America, in Louisiana, and those around us. And Lord, these are trying days for some of us, politically speaking. These trying days for some of us, economically speaking. These trying days for some of us, Father, emotionally speaking. We hear, Lord God, some of the rhetoric and some of the hate-filled speech, Lord God, that's going on the Yahweh and the media, Father. In the name of Jesus, we know, God, that we're more than conquerors with Him that loves us. Greater than us, God, the power of God's Holy Spirit that He is in the world. No weapon formed against us shall prosper. And every tongue that speaks out of judgment shall be condemned in the name of Jesus. We stand on your word, Father. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to stand in agreement for those who are sick right now. Miss Glass, God, Miss Rain, those who are sick, who's sick, Lord God. Some other couple of people that they're sick, that they're healed in your way, the bomb in Gilead. These we pray, Father, to you move our transgression, bruise our iniquities, our peace upon Him by your stripes. We are healed. He did it right, so God, by your stripes we were healed. It's already a done deal. We reach out by faith and receive the healing blessing. God, we call, Lord God, you touch the symptom and the source of them. Lord God, we reverse, Lord God, things Lord God, need to be reversed in our bodies that need to be healed. Lord God, we strengthen those things that are weak, and Lord God, encourage, Lord God, and make us strong, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, in the name of Jesus. And Lord, to agree with tonight, Lord God, the young lady co-host lost Lord God, Debbie, Lord God, lost, Lord God, her grandmother, Lord God, and we, in the name of Jesus, Lord God, I want you to bring comfort to the family. You gonna rock, Lord God, in times, Lord God, of loneliness, Lord God, of weariness, and Lord God, of Lord God, so comfort, Lord God. You are very strength, our very help in a time of trouble. In the name of Jesus, we speak, Lord God, for the family. Work that we may do it for the night, but joy comes in the morning. Your anger is for a month, but your favor is for a lifetime. We speak right now. Favor, Lord God, in whatever we're doing. Favor, Lord God, in our jobs. Favor in our economics. Favor, Lord God, in our influence of folks. Favor, Lord God, in our relationships. Favor in our communities. Lord God, favor in our homes. In the name of Jesus, we pray. We give you praise and give you honor. You alone are worthy. Honor our prayer tonight with 2 or 3 together in your name. You're there in the midst. And we thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Pastor Riggins, thank you for that. Miss Lorraine is out there listening now. Her husband was actually admitted to the hospital less than 30 minutes ago. Ask her to listen in so her husband can listen and know that for all the things that she's done, for all of the tireless efforts that she's done, put into helping this broadcast, Pastor, thank you for doing what you're doing. My mother has always taught us that you always, and whatever it is that you're doing, whatever ability you have, you do it with the ability that God has given you. Now, I can do a lot of things when it comes to politics, and I would be very disingenuous toward myself, and it would be very stupid of myself to do all of these things and not give credit to the Most High, Pastor. And that's the reason why I do it. I'm not getting paid. Aaron knows that we're not getting paid, and everybody else out there know that we're not getting paid. We're doing this because we care. Pastor, I'm not going to hold you. Thanks for calling in, and we love you, man. And give us a time and date, and let us know. We know that you'll be on Wednesday night with Real People, Real Life, Real Answers. Tell us what your topic that night is about, then I'll let you go.
We're going to talk about running the race. We tried to put it on last week. We did it on Blog Talk USA, running the race, but on Facebook Live, I may be preaching that one, running the race. We got to run this race. And also, because the Bible says to lay aside every weight and the sin. So easily said, and run with race, the patient is set before us. Looking at Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, surrounded by a great crowd of witness. And just like the Olympics had a great audience, over billions of people watching, we have a spiritual audience that went on before us. It's causing us to know that if they made it, we can make it too. Talk a little bit about that and talk about how God wants us to move into a place of excellence in Him. We can't settle for less. Too many people are settling for less. But you got to move into a place of excellence. And that's what we've been talking about on Wednesday.
Right. Okay, Pastor, thanks for that information. You discharge your duty. Smile in heaven because the one who gave you the power is smiling because you have done the works that He has ordained you to do. Thank you, Pastor Riggins.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Thank you, audience, for being out there. Thank you.
Okay.
You have a great night.
Okay.
Thanks, Pastor.
Before I open the lines, let me once again say, if you're looking for an excellent personal injury attorney, why don't you check out W. Mark McKee, located right in the heart of Columbia, Louisiana, directly south of the main bridge as you're approaching Columbia. If you're looking for some good legal representation, check out W. Mark McKee. Also, if you want to eat at one of the best local restaurants in Columbia, that's in the heart of Columbia, right in the town of Columbia, check out Main Street Seafood and Restaurant, owned and operated by Mitch Bratton. Again, he's offering this new Superdome burger that he's offering, and I'll give you more information on that at the end. Let me open up the lines right now because we got about 26 minutes left, and I want to give any callers that's out there the opportunity, as we always do. But like I said before, we always get in the process because we want to make sure that we give everybody the opportunity to talk. Do we have any callers? callers out there who would like to chime in?
Baron, I would.
Okay.
Hello.
Go ahead, caller.
Hello, Baron. This is Dr. Rita. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'd like to chime in if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was listening to a talk show the other night, and an interesting statistic came in, and that was that 70% of the people calling in or that are voting to get Trump into office, they have an average of $70,000 income. They weren't poor, but they are voting for Trump. Why? Because they have a dream that Trump is going to make them wealthy in his offhanded way. I don't think the Republican Party quite knows what to do with him, and they cannot make themselves look like fools, which they are, in front of the whole country, let alone the whole world. So they're humoring him and keeping him in, but he's not smart enough to run the country. So it reminds me of Lincoln's inauguration, where the people behind him got him in, not because he's smart, or they didn't think he was, but because they thought they could run him to run the country.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was that Lincoln was smarter than they were, and he took over. Trump doesn't have that type of a mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure what's going to happen with Trump, but be assured his kids are probably going to help run the country, and not him.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't have the wherewithal to do that.
Okay.
Honestly.
Nikki, Paula, Vanessa, you heard what Dr. Spilkin just stated. Talk to me, Nikki, about that comment.
I posted something on I answered on your page today, something of the very same. There's this idea that his wealth
Hey, Nikki.
rub off in some...
Hey, Nikki, before you go before you go any further, we got somebody out there who got us on speakerphone because we can hear the back noise. If you'll just take us off speakerphone, we can hear the broadcast a little bit more clear. Go ahead.
Is that better?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I had posted on, I think it was on your page, Baron, that there's this idea that Trump is wealthy and has been successful, and it somehow will magically rub off on people. He'll make them affluent. He'll make them, it's you hear it all the time. It's like Trump he'll fix it so that they can become wealthy. So I'm very much interested in that statistic with Dr. Rita. I also know that there's too many educated. That's why that the emphasis on education and no racism. I kind of don't believe there's too many Republicans who are affluent, as Dr. Rita said, the $70,000 salary a year, that will support him. Underneath all of it, and they're the kind of I think they live lives where their racism is covert, and they figure that somehow he'll be managed. He's an unmanageable man. You know, the Republicans have tried to manage him. They're disowning him in droves. I don't think it's going to happen. But that's an interesting observation, because I've seen it too. There's too many people with education who are affluent who are supporting him. It's not just the rabble. It's not just the mob.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to go to Aaron Hopkins next and ask him, but I'll tell you, Nikki, I have a very well-off white female friend that is very much liberal. And she messaged me the other day and indicated that most of the people that she circled with, they are actually voting for Trump simply because they feel that they're paying too much in higher taxes, and they are actually angry. They are angry because the President of the United States, who happens to be a little bit different than they are, They feel that he has somehow tainted the paint on the White House. So a lot of these people rather are actually voting more so out of anger, which is taking America back, making America great again. Aaron Hopkins, how do you summarize that?
Well, it's actually very clear there. When you talk about economic status versus political interest, it says to me that many of the social issues that we discuss on this show that you won't hear and won't see discussed on the various mainstream media outlets, it shows that what's really important is economic status. So what it says to me is, if I'm never in the category of somebody who earns $70,000+ a year, but yet my social struggles never come up in the conversation, then it kind of tells me what I need to know. So in other words, what's more important is how much money you can earn versus are your children being taken care of? Are you able to? Can you even get a job, let alone a job that's going to pay you in excess of $70,000? So it says to me that the emphasis on wealth is much bigger than all of the problems that we face daily, and this is why when certain people say things like, we'll just use the term or the phrase that came up, all lives matter. See, that reality is a total contradiction of that statement. Mm-hmm. How in the world could all lives matter when you have people who of a certain economic status would only vote the interests of, or vote Trump in as the interest of their income? Mm-hmm. See, that says way more than what people would probably want to admit to. But to me, it's very clear, Barry.
Right. And again, Aaron, and that's why I think Trump has tried to coin the term, because we have become so educated that he wants to paint this picture and allow people like the devil to believe in a lie that we're so uneducated. I like, again, I agree with Pastor Riggins. I co-sign what he said, that you said it best. Rather than spend your time and effort into debating or interjecting with someone who is of no relevance other than by running for office, let's not spend time really debating this guy, because we already know he's throwing red meat to a certain populace. So if we try to narrow this thing down, because we're looking at about 15 minutes left, Vanessa, do you feel that education will be a determining factor in who is elected in the presidential race of 2016?
I mean, are you asking?
Do you think? Yeah. Do you think that
the people running?
Yeah. Do you think that those who have the vote, do you feel that their educational level will be a determining factor in who they choose to be the 45th president of the United States?
That's kind of hard to say, but.
And you can just take a general shot at it, because it's not necessarily specific or one of those aha moments. And the reason why I'm asking, again, Dr. Spilkin is saying that $70,000 income, which unless you are privileged, most people that look like me, Vanessa, and you and Aaron, they're not making $70,000. They're barely making $20,000. So, and for us, we have to almost achieve a doctorate degree, a Juris Doctorate, or something else. And even when we achieve that, we still have to go through other hurdles and barriers just to get to that income level. So if we look at it from a factual standpoint, the question again is, if we're looking at this presidential election in 2016, do you feel that the educational level of each individual voter will determine whether Trump is elected or Hillary, because again they're saying that now $70,000 income is not all uneducated people that's voting for Trump. There are some actually. Well, let me ask you this, Vanessa. Let me back up. In your opinion, what does education? Define education to me. Is it somebody that has a degree, or is it somebody that has done a lot of research and very well versed in a lot of different? Define education to me.
In my opinion of education, it's not book sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just book sense, but it's also common sense. If you don't have the two, that means that you're leaning on one, too much on one and not enough on the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as a person's education, if I didn't go to college or if I didn't finish high school, and I'm able to vote, I'm not going to let my education, the fact that I didn't finish high school, I'm not going to let that influence me whether or not I'm going to vote.
Correct.
If I'm black.
Okay.
But if I'm white and I have money, I'm not thinking about my education anyway.
Right.
I'm thinking about my money.
Okay.
So if they're leaning, that was the first time I heard that, as a matter of fact, about the 70s.
Yeah. Me too, Vanessa.
They're leaning towards. I mean, if that's what they're leaning towards, then this whole, it's like he's throwing out red herrings all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's actually talking to, he's a one percenter. So he's talking to other potential people that want to be one percenters.
But let me ask you this, Vanessa.
So
could it be once again that mainstream media is trying to control, distort, and divide, actually what the facts are?
Oh, yes, that's what they live for. I mean, oh, my God, that's the media, the most powerful tool, the racist tool in the world. It reaches every corner, every corner of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever owns that, whatever they say goes. Because a lot of these, like Hannity and Bill O'Reilly, these people are paid to say what their bosses tell them to say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why people don't even think, Fox News is even a real news station, because
Right.
It's not. That's not news. That's a racist opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's your boss talking.
Right.
So,
but Vanessa, I don't recall, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Paula, Aaron, Nikki, and anybody. You guys have never been forced to say what I want you to say. You say pretty much what you want to say, correct?
correct?
Yes.
So, and Paula, what I'm not understanding is why don't people get engaged in things like what we're doing, in things like what Pastor Riggins is doing, things like what some of the other media outlets are doing, which is not trying to control a message or distort the people. We're just talking about simple facts related to social justice, equal rights, current events, news and politics, and all of those other things that's going to... Why do you think people are afraid to look at something new and alternative?
I have an example for you. My sisters, my younger sister has friends that she plays bridge with and plays golf with and that sort of thing, and they are staunch Republicans, and she's not. And she has said that she will not bring up anything controversial at all when she's around those women, because she doesn't want to lose them as friends or, buddies.
Mm-hmm.
But she still retains her own opinions. She doesn't agree with them, but she doesn't challenge them when they're in a group.
But Paula, isn't silence a part of a problem?
Yes.
Okay, I just got a message that was sent to me. I do believe the media plays a large role. I am white, privileged, degree, and still struggle. but I am a woman too. What do you think? That's going on. I mean, again, this is very complex. Aaron, Vanessa, Nikki, I see this thing becoming more and more complicated with what's going on. I see a whole lot of things that are taking place. I see us versus them taking place. I see no one accepting right versus wrong, which is what we should. So at the end of the day, when the smoke is clear and the dust is settled, I am becoming more worried. I see more people, including myself, who have gone out and are going out to purchase a firearm. I see people talking, well, if you come off into my space, I'm not going to shoot to injure. I'm going to shoot to kill. So if you look at all of these things that are playing out, it appears that we're headed down a road that if we don't take a turn, there's going to be a lot of destruction. What do you think about that, Nikki? We're looking at about 8 minutes left.
Just interestingly, I looked today at, education, okay? And I looked, it's such a broad area. And so I looked at one city. I looked at New York City, okay? New York City has the largest police force in the country, has one of the largest populations. 500,000 of the children in New York City go to crumbling schools with electrical systems broken windows. So,
Nikki, based on what you just saying is what Donald Trump is saying. Why is there a problem?
No. Let me finish this. So I saw that there was a report put out. It would take $680 million. Okay, to they call it deferred maintenance, bring the city school, okay, up to par. Meanwhile, New York paid $1 billion over 10 years for to settle police brutality cases. All right, $1 billion. Now, I think 20% of the funding for schools comes out of the state budget. So you have a city that has millions of people, that has a crumbling school system, and when you're talking about education in America today, you are talking about race, class. You're not talking about suburban schools. You're talking about inner city schools. You're talking about rural poor. You're talking about black children. You're talking about maybe poor white children in the rural neighborhoods. But that's what you're talking about. And as a nation, so here you have Rudy Giuliani and our former Mrs. Clinton, who was a senator for that state. And there's that condition exists in a major city and exists in every single city in America. When you look at what's being paid out for police brutality cases in any of our major cities, and you look at the crumbling school systems and you see where the money is being spent, I mean, I think it's as Aaron says, we look to put a Band-Aid on things without addressing the fundamental issues of what is wrong with this country. And what is wrong with this country is racism, poverty, lack of care for our poor, lack of community services for our poor and our black and our Hispanic. That's the crux of the problem in our country.
Right, Nikki.
And
Nikki, but again, you mentioned the crumbling schools and all this, that, and the other, which Donald has said the same thing. And playing devil's advocate, what is wrong if he said, if there's nothing wrong when you saying it and you're talking from a statistical standpoint?
He is saying it. He is a politician. He's a Republican. There's been a bill before Congress for about the last 6 months. They won't pass a school bill. It will be no different. Donald is saying what he's, like I said, he's the star of his own reality show. He is saying what he thinks people, not even what he thinks people want to hear. I mean, I don't think he can hold two consistent thoughts and join them together for logic.
Okay.
But yeah, I think he says it, but he will do nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the point I'm trying to make, Baron, is from our top level all the way down. These are state officials. These are city officials. Our system is so corrupt from bottom to top, top to bottom. I think we are in us versus them, and I don't think that there is the will to really go on. I think the people that are comfortable want to stay comfortable, want to disown, deny, not talk about these issues, and we're condemning the nation. We're really condemning the nation. You know, I think what is not realized is that unless we as a nation address these inequalities, and try to level out this playing field and deconstruct some of these institutions that just perpetuate it, all else is a Band-Aid. I think Hillary will stick a Band-Aid on it. She'll also tell us what we want to hear, you know. But I think it's broken. It's broken.
Okay. Just before you came on, Nikki, Aaron sent a message that the example that Paula just gave is exactly what I always try to put moral dynamite under, because it's based on fear of lack of acceptance by those who don't give a damn about your best interest. Aaron, I don't think you can become no more honest, and that piece of honesty, it probably hurts some people, but guess what? It happens every day with your friends, my friends, Nikki friends, Vanessa friends, Paula friends, and anybody else that's out there listening. It appears that sometimes even women are voting against their own interests. I'm sorry, we're just running out of time. It always happens that way. But let me tell you a little bit about this Main Street Seafood, this Superdome burger. Make sure you listen. Once again, it's 22 ounces of beef, 4 slices of cheese, 8 strips of bacon, lettuce, tomato, mustard, and mayo on a sourdough bun. That's right here at Main Street Seafood restaurant located in the heart of Columbia, Louisiana. Also one of the best practicing attorneys that's out there, W. Mark McKee, personal injury. Check Mark out if you have an accident or if you just need some good, sound, aggressive legal advice. Paula, Nikki, Aaron, and Vanessa, you know what time it is. We have to sign off like the Waltons. So thanks for all of those who are called in and out there listening. Thanks for all who are out there listening on the broadcast, www.thesmokingglasshour.com. You can check us out on Thursday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, if you don't want to listen and hear and talk about issues that are going on relative to reality, then this particular broadcast is probably not for you. If you are soft-hearted, if you are sensitive, if you can't deal with real-life issues, then once again, Nikki, I think you would agree, Paula, Aaron, and Vanessa, this is not the place, because we are going to face those social justice issues, those equal rights issues, those current events that are going on. We're going to talk about news and politics. We're going to talk about constitutional rights. We're going to talk about all of those other rights that are afforded to you, or supposed to be afforded to you by the Constitution of the United States. Dr. Spilkin, thanks for calling in. I see Larry Bell out there. I see some others out there. I don't recognize all the numbers, but there are listeners that are out there. The broadcast for the last month or so, for whatever reason, has really picked up. Also want to thank our good friend and our good assistant co-host and one of the members of Glassology 101, Dr. A.F. Riggins, senior pastor, founder of Real Life Church out of Houston, Texas, for coming on and saying those words of comfort to all of those in the flooded areas and those who are suffering just in need of prayer. Once again, Paula, Deb, Nikki, and Aaron. Here we are signing off. John Boy, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hi, Mary Ellen.
All right.